Well, next up, there he is, Dana. How are you, Dana?
I am those are two really tough acts to follow, I
I
would tell you.
know.
But before I start, I want to say one thing. We have 46 folks participating right now. We're doing this. We're trying to raise money for the Rhode Island Food Bank. Everybody on this right now is going to have a meal tonight, right? So let's put this into perspective. So I challenge everybody right now to go on, donate $10, and then we'll make our goal. Because there's going to be a lot of Rhode Islanders that tonight won't have a meal. So let's count our blessings. We're here right now. We're talking about entrepreneurism, talking about great successes, great opportunities, but just remember those other folks that, are trying to figure out what to eat. So
You're not kidding. And by the way, we've put the Tiltify, basically it starts with Tiltify, but Mia has put that in the chat, and please do. And it is getting worse it was bad before COVID. It's really bad now. People are really afraid of where they are going to get food for their families. So this is a really big deal. Let me give you a proper hello. So Dana brings gaming to life in the companies he's co-founded, Esports Ventures and Ritual Motion. In addition to helping others identify niches, digitally strategize, and brand, Dana wants everybody to win and win well, win physically, win financially. Dana is one of those people, when you meet him, you always feel like you're better off when you've left, because it's always a smile, and he always makes you feel good, even when you email with him. So Dana, take us through Ritual Motion and take us through our fun part of the event, where we're actually going to learn a little bit more about the $25 billion esports industry and where you think it's going, and what we can do here in Rhode Island to grab a hold of some of that.
yeah, that'd be great. So, I'll start off with a really quick little snapshot, and then I'll do a Reader's Digest version will kind of let us to here. And I just dated myself by referencing Reader's Digest. So anyway, Ritual Motion is the leading health and wellness brand in gaming and esports, right? And so how did we get there? It started really simply 2 years ago. So my family's been into esports forever. And 2 years ago, I came home, and as always, my kids and all of their friends were in one of our living rooms, and they're watching a match on TV. And I asked my oldest, I said, "What are you watching?" He goes, "Oh, that's the Overwatch League, which is a esports publisher. It's a video game." And I said, "Who's playing?" He said, "Oh, well, that's Boston Uprising." I'm like, "Boston Uprising?" He goes, "Yeah, Bob Kraft." He goes, "Bob Kraft paid $22 million to be part of this league." So at that point, a light bulb kind of just went off in my head. And I was like, wait a minute, this $22 million to be part of this league. And he said, yeah. And it's also for the first time I ever really looked at video games on a large screen. And I realized there's a lot of repetitive hand motion going on. So I asked a bunch of late teenagers, early 20-something, a silly question: do your hands hurt after you guys played video games for a long time? And they all laughed and said yes. So the universe would have it, I was actually working with a medical device company at the same time. And they had a therapeutical glove that they brought to the market 20 years ago that was just doing nothing. And they brought the glove to the market for manufacturing. So manufacturing in esports the similarity is there's a lot of repetitive hand motion that goes on. So I went to the manufacturer and I said, I have an idea. Can I get some of these? Got some of them, gave them to my kids, gave them to their friends. Said, come, let me know in a couple weeks. A couple weeks go by. I said, what do you think? They said, well, one, they're really ugly, because if you can imagine, the beige-looking gloves, and we had some ideas to make it better for gamers. Went to the manufacturer, and I went to Bill, who's my co-founder, and I said to Bill, I have this idea about esports, and Bill looked at me and he said, well, I think I've played a total of 4 hours of video games my whole life. But it met Bill's criteria, right? It was a very large and unorganized industry, which then set the opportunity for us to go into. So we said, okay, let's do this. Let's go to the market. And originally we thought, hey, we're going to maybe have a consumer product. But as we started doing research in the industry, we realized a couple of big factors. One, 40% of the gamers were females. And it really didn't make sense to us because video games and esports are like checkers and chess. It's a level playing field. It's a game of, it doesn't matter how fast you run, how high you can jump. It really is a mental strategy. At that point, we really said, like, you know what, we're going to have 3 mantras that we're going to go by as this company. And that is authenticity, inclusion, and diversity. And if those 3 boxes can't be checked on everything we do, then we're just not going to do it. It's really just that simple. So as we started getting more and more research, and we did an Indiegogo campaign actually a year ago, this week we launched it. We met our goal within a couple of hours. And then, Bill looked at me and he said, there's really something much bigger than this with health and wellness than obviously protecting hands. And we started doing research. And we realized that health and wellness in the esports was kind of like concussions in football. The NFL knew they were going on, but no one was really talking about it. So at that point, we really decided that we wanted to really, really focus on health, wellness, and education and kind of create content around that. One of the ways we did that was a year ago, we came out with our first Win Well survey. And it was a survey for just asking the community things about health and wellness. We had over 500 people basically give us feedback. From that data, we then made decisions on what we would write on for content, what articles would come out, and also what products. So out of that data, a perfect example was we realized blue light was a problem with esports, right? So we wanted to address blue light and bring blue light glasses to the market. We partnered with 2 Rhode Island companies, FGX and also Fifth and Ninth. And, one of the main reasons we partnered with them, we had Gunnar, which is a really big gaming eyewear company, come to us. The challenge was Gunnar's price point was $90 a pair, right? So it did not fit into our criteria of authenticity, inclusion, and diversity because not everyone's going to be able to afford a $90 pair of eyewear. So we really started getting that data, collecting data, and we use a simple formula. It's ask the community. It's listen to what the community says, with most brands skip, right? Because they think they know more than their own community. And then it's deliver. And that delivery may be, in our case, products. That's how the snack company came to be. We realized that gamers like to snack. They were conscious and mindful about healthy snacks, and they wanted clean snacks, not only clean eating snacks, but they didn't want Doritos because they mess up their HyperX $200 keyboard, right? They wanted actually clean snacks. So we really pivoted and brought those to the market. And we kept on doing that all along. We made a real big pivot, I would say, this past spring when Bill and I were meeting, and we realized that, we're not necessarily, once again, a consumer product company. We really are a gaming and esports media hub that happens to bring products to the market based on what the community is asking for. Our goal is really to be the conscious of the community of esports. So at that point, when we decided to pivot, we brought on a CMO, someone that I worked with in my past life who was a CMO over at Bonnier and Time for Media, had a really deep understanding of publishing, not video game publishing, but traditional publishing. We then soon brought on a VP of content, someone who was endemic in the industry, who was writing already about esports, to be our VP of content. And we just recently brought on someone to manage our community. All of this with the understanding of that we want to produce high quality, authentic information about health and wellness to our community. One of the other big goals that we started working on as all this was going on, we realized that with the pandemic, a lot of foundations that do charity events based on physical locations, it wasn't going to happen. So in April, we realized that June was coming. June is a big month for a month of Pride. And we said, all right, well, what can we do? So we identified a cause, which was Pride. We identified a foundation for that cause, which is the Stonewall Foundation. And we put together what we call social impact activations. And we did a thing called Playing for Pride. It was for the month of June. We raised thousands of dollars, created a lot of awareness. We had 1,700 people play over a 2-day event on the third week of June, which is really amazing. After that happened, we asked ourselves as an organization, what are some of these other things that are really important? So voter registration is very important and was important. And we partnered with 2 great foundations. We partnered with Rock the Vote and Gamers Vote to create varsity votes. And what was interesting with varsity votes is we've been really deep into the varsity universe of esports. And we wanted to embrace that kind of that the colleges and create almost like a March Madness type of feel. So we had 21 college crew teams participate in varsity votes through the month of August, which led up to the finals, which was in September. We had the Final Four was on a Saturday, and we had 700 people participate on an online tournament. The great thing about that is our total reach for that event was about 2 million eyeballs that we had as a total reach. Right after that, the team came back and said, well, October's coming up. Let's do something for breast cancer awareness. So the formula became really simple. Let's find a cause. Let's find a foundation that we can support. And as an organization, let's make this kind of activation. So for breast cancer awareness, we did SOB Cancer. We raised a lot of money for the National Cancer Foundation, created a lot of awareness. That ended, and now we're really proud to say we're rolling into our biggest of all social impact activations. It's Gaming for Tots. So we've partnered with the Toys for Tots Foundation. We're doing 12 Days of Christmas. So from December 1st to December 11th, we'll be doing charity streams, raising money and awareness for Toys for Tots. And then on December 12th, we're having our major Toys for Tots stream. We're anticipating about 2,000 people we're tracking right now that will be part of that. And sprinkled in the middle of that, we decided as a company to really help just the community out and people in general. We're doing a Zooming with Santa. So during December 5th through December 20th, it's a free thing that we're doing as an organization, but people will be able to log in with their kids and Zoom with Santa Claus. I mean, those things are part of our DNA and how we're wired, because we firmly believe that it's all about giving, and if you give, you'll get back. And so that's kind of where we started, where we are. Annette?
Actually, I just want to be by the way, love it. This is awesome. And by the way, lots of people in the chat already donating, which is great. We're going to definitely meet that goal. Candace just asked, is this gambling when people do the e-sporting? Is there gambling involved?
There's no gambling involved. No, it's just playing a tournament. Now the prize pool, there is some sort of always sort of cash potential prize pool, but they don't pay to play. It's free for anybody who wants to play. There's also gifting. So this particular event right now, we have about a total of $2,500 of cash and prizes for that'll be given out to the participants.
And once again, here is a entrepreneur and an entrepreneurial team that said, gee, COVID hit. We actually have something here that could be of interest. People are at home and they're watching or involved with more esports. Why don't we make it a giving thing? I actually have another person who's very interested in doing it for their nonprofit. So I'm going to contact you after this. But
great.
This is such a great opportunity. By the way, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you happen to have one of those gloves nearby? Because what it is?
Do I happen to have one of the gloves nearby? Yes, I do actually. I can
show us one.
Yeah, this is for one of our varsity teams. So we have a really big varsity program that we work with. And this is one of our gaming skins, as we call them. Each skin will have inside of it, kind of gives you little hand instructions on stretching your hand out and things. But it's this is for, like I said, this is for one of our teams. This is Nickel College. We have a strap if you'd like for extra protection. This is called our Warrior 2. So our Warrior 2 is definitely our best seller. I think a lot of folks like that extra kind of hand protection that they get with it.
That's awesome. Wow. Um, and so you actually have done a great job of working Ritual Motion with other Rhode Island manufacturing companies.
Yes.
Tell us the secret of how did you find them? Where do you go to even figure that out? And by the way, RIHub has a thing we're going to be working to figure out to help inventors to get into the Rhode Island manufacturing scene. Not so simple sometimes.
Yeah, so we call that, and we coined the phrase of industrial revolution, right? So the idea of making Rhode Island the epicenter of esports. And once again, it started with this manufacturer that was manufacturing these gloves forever, and we went to them and we helped them pivot. So we also did that with Foster Grant. We did that with Fifth and Ninth. We did that with Snack. We're doing that also. We're partnering with, we're really excited about Squad Locker. So Squad Locker, another great Rhode Island company, they dealt a lot traditionally in traditional sports. They came to us and we talked to them about, we'd love to get you into this esports world. We need this for our varsity programs. And now we've partnered with them to now get into our whole varsity program and create a.
That's great. What about Hasbro? And here's my question to you. Is we have to link this back to the original discussion about a network. How do you knock on the door of Hasbro? I'm a lone entrepreneur. I don't know anybody at Hasbro. What do I do? Do I just look somebody up online and start dialing?
So there's a couple of ways. One, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. To be honest, I think it's worth getting that extra premium account so you can kind of DM folks. Hasbro, we got really lucky. Hasbro, we were able to have a great conversation, and we are in talks with Hasbro right now. And I have to thank a lot of that to Venture Cafe and the opportunity we had to be on a panel with the folks from Hasbro. The connection was made instantly between us, and they reached out to us. We started having conversations. So I think a lot of it is networking. I can't emphasize that enough. If you're an entrepreneur, the more you can network, the more you can connect the dots. And sometimes these connections may not fire off right away, but I've made connections 10 years ago that we've been able to kind of work with and help leverage right now at Ritual Motion. And I think that's the important thing. I think the key is you build up your Rolodex. Right there, there's another way of, I've just aged myself by calling Rolodex.
Rolodex.
But,
what's the Rolodex?
You build that up. You do right by people. That's the key. And eventually it all comes back around.
The Rolodex is a thing that sits on your eight-track tapes, I think. So
yeah, exactly.
So I would have mentioned, Venture Cafe, good example. Once we get back to being able to be present, I mean, of course, you can get on lots of Venture Cafes doing amazing stuff online, but wow, when you get to go there in person, which we will again, it's such a great place to network with people, across the board. So that's very exciting. So I wonder if it's time to take a look at our MT Nerd Girl and actually do a little bit of, have a little bit of fun here. You could tell us what's going on, or somebody can tell us what's going on. Yeah. I think, there we go. Elena is sharing her screen, and I know she's keeping it quiet, but I don't know if any of you at Ritual Motion want to give us a little bit of a...
Yeah, so she's on Twitch. Twitch is a streaming platform that is now owned by Amazon. It was a $1 billion acquisition, I want to say maybe 5 years ago when they bought Twitch. It's probably the top platform where gamers can go on and basically do exactly what she's doing, right? With MTG Nerd Girl is doing. She's playing. Right now, she has 163 people that are actually watching her. Just passively, just enjoying her play games. She's actually playing Magic the Gathering, which is a plug to Hasbro. It's their esports kind of property that they own. And as she's playing, it's all about community. So what happens with this is just like if you think of your favorite TV show that you watch weekly on a weekly basis, right? That you schedule in your head, it's every Thursday at 8 o'clock. what happens is with a lot of these gamers, they start building a community, they start building a following, so they start having a schedule, and folks will tune in. So like I said, at this point right now, she's been playing for almost 2 hours and have 163 people that are just entrenched on what she's doing.
Now, MTG Nerd Girl also, I can see that she's speaking. We're not listening to her track right now, but she's also going to be talking about everything there is to do about the Rhode Island Community Food Bank. And so her viewers, not just us, but anybody from around the world, I'm understanding, will be able to, because of your activation, will be able to donate. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's also doing it. She has a chat. If people move over and they can see it all the way to the right, there's an active chat that's going on that she'll be putting it in the link. She'll be saying to people, hey, go here and donate. A lot of times, so, with gamers, this is one of their channels where they communicate. She's probably also in tandem communicating on a thing called Discord. So think of Skype, but only for gamers. And a lot of times while they are gaming to their community, there's multiple channels at the same time that they are communicating on.
Wow. So, and some of these gamers, streamers, as I've learned, they're actually making a living doing this, correct? Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, for those of us that don't watch gaming, but probably are going to, just to check it out a little bit more, tell us about that world, because to many of us, it's foreign.
Yeah, so, you have the most popular ones that everyone's probably heard of, Ninja. So I'll use Ninja as an example. Ninja just signed back on with Twitch in an exclusive deal, and it's north of $30 million a year that they're paying him. That does not include for when Ninja plays on average, he may have 50,000 people that are watching him, and a lot of them, they are called subs. So a sub is when you actually pay and you donate money to the streamer or gamer that you're a fan of, and those proceeds out of that $5, because there's all different levels, so say it's $5, about 2/3 of that go to the streamer, the other part of that goes to Amazon. And then they also make money other ways. So they'll make money if they're high level like a Ninja. They'll make money through endorsements. They'll make money through licensing. They'll make money through merchandise. Ninja there's a handful of them that are at the top. But what a lot of people don't understand is a really large group, I would say, that are still doing probably $100,000 a year.
Wow.
But it's their job. And you have to treat it as a job. I think that's the challenge. You become this persona of who people expect you are. Like, once again, MTG Nerd Girl, she's creating this whole kind of persona of her, how she plays the game. That's why the community goes back to her. And there are some gamers who just don't care, what their personal persona is, and they just go and play. But then, once again, Ninja had a very early understanding about that. He keeps the game clean. He, things like he doesn't swear. So why is that important? Well, that's important because you're going to get a huge demographic of young kids that will watch you, right? Because if mom walks by the door and Susie is listening to a streamer and they stop throwing out profanities, well, not going to be able to listen to that streamer anymore. So some of the streamers really get it. They understand it. It's a business. Some are casual gamers where they'll just play. They just play for the sake of playing. And there's a huge group of them now that are trying to get on that competitive level. And that's where the varsity comes in. So esports is really more on the competitive, organized level of things, where MTG Nerd Girl is more of a gamer.
And what's amazing, and Bill just put this in the chat, it's a $160 billion industry worldwide, growing at, what is that, 20%? It's remarkable, and it is a place where many, many people are used to it, and many of us aren't.
I mean, the cash came out. I know the check dates tend to, but the cash came out of the big.
There we go. And somebody's
yes,
it's
Kristen.
It's the same entry. It's the same
Kristen
thing. He's got an accrual, and it's just weird.
You know, the
I don't
other thing
understand why you
too,
would have it as a reconciling item for cash.
I don't know how to mute everybody.
the other thing, Annette, too, when we talk about, which is
No,
really
he
important to
didn't
us as
record
a
it.
company, the industrial revolution. I mean, we're even now in talks with some jewelry companies, Rhode Island jewelry companies that are really interested in getting into this industry, because the thing about this industry is it goes back to that first level of authenticity.
Right.
There are a lot of brands that will try to throw big money, and if they're not authentic and they don't know how to have conversations and communicate with this community, you're never going to penetrate the market. And I think that's where a lot of folks make mistakes. They really don't understand their community, their tribe, and they just think that their brand is their brand, and they're going to dictate it to that group, and that's where it fails. And in this community, it fails really quickly because they do communicate on so many different levels. This is not like any other community that I've ever seen in my life, where they have so much. Right now, when you're looking at her playing, that's the largest social media platform in the world right now, right? That's bigger than Facebook, bigger than Instagram, and it's a purely collaborative platform, right? She's talking to them, they're talking to her. It's a constant flow of communication. Unlike if you have Facebook and you post a post or you post an ad, you're just pushing that content out there, and maybe someone's going to reply. That's where the difference is. So if you're authentic, if you understand and know how to communicate with them, and know where to communicate with them and when to communicate with them, you're going to be able to be brought into their kind of community.
Wow, that's great. All right, we're going to be looking for any questions, and basically see if anybody has any questions now for the Ritual Motion folks, Dana in particular. I'm very excited about this. If you haven't had a chance yet to donate, please do. She's going to keep this going for quite a number of hours. Is that right, Dana?
Yeah, she's got a couple more hours that she's going to be doing with it. I am looking right now at Tiltify, and we're almost there, people. We're at $435.
Well, we're going to get there. I haven't got my credit card out, so I have to. We'll get there. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thank you all. That's excellent. I know we can do it. So, all right. And I wonder if you want to speak a little bit about varsity.
Yeah, I'd love to. So varsity, when we talk about varsity, it's really from junior high school to college. So it's the fastest growing segment of gaming and esports, but it's also the most unorganized. So what tends to happen is, and I'm going to give an example, we have an NCAA school that we're working with. They invested big money into their esports LAN center. As soon as the LAN center was built, they basically said to a sophomore, okay, here's the keys, run it. Right. And so, we see that a lot. We see that these schools are making the investment because they need to, especially the colleges. This is not only is it a need for the kids because they want to play this, it's also a big marketing tool for recruitment. Right. Because if you don't have an esports program moving forward, it's just you might as the same thing of not having a football program or a soccer program or a basketball program, right? It is a way that these schools and administrators are leveraging to get students and also to keep students, right? Because the cost of acquisition for a student is so high that it's a great tool to do that. But we found, and talking to a lot of these schools, that once the center gets built, then that's it. There's really no funding. So we created a varsity program, and I'm sure one of my fellow Ritual Motion folks can throw the link in the chat, where we realized that they needed a tool for fundraising. So now what we do is we've set up a fundraising tool. It's a storefront that is no cost to the colleges or the universities or the high schools. They can sell apparel and gear, which is important to them. So this is a perfect example. This is Nichols College right here. This will be going on their store.
Oh, that's fabulous.
You know, and listen, everybody does fundraising, but I mean, how many tins of popcorn can you possibly sell? Right. So we're giving them something meaningful and that's purposeful for them. They actually share in the revenue side of it. But the most important part of this, it's not just a place where we're selling stuff. All of these pages will be populated with content and articles that come right from Ritual Motion. So we'll be constantly feeding them articles about nutrition, articles about health, articles about mental wellness that, once again, no one really even talks about, that we really address head on. So it's a win-win. It doesn't cost the schools a cent. They get to make a revenue part of it. And for us, we feel that we're helping spread the word about health and wellness and education in a nice way.
That is amazing. I had no idea until just now that this was a pathway in terms of colleges. What about scholarships? Am I understanding there might be some connection?
Yeah, so there's right now roughly about 600 schools that colleges that have programs. Some of the programs are very, very kind of put together. You know, they go right through the athletic director. Some of them they fall under kind of the student council affairs, but there's about 600 total. Out of that, roughly there's just over 220 that are giving scholarships for esports. So the thing to remember with esports and the connection, why it's really important with education, there's a direct connection with STEM learning. Yep. So getting back to the streamers, you know, you could be in esports and you may not be the next ninja, but guess what? You could now get into game design. You could get into programming. You can get into broadcasting. So there's a lot of opportunities that allows kids to get into, and adults, other than just being a streamer. Because, you know, this whole idea that it's the 22-year-old in their parents' basement is completely wrong. And that's why junior high schools and high schools are really spinning up programs too, because they do understand that connection with STEM learning. That
is amazing. I've learned a lot right now. This may be my future career. Who knows? I mean, this sounds really amazing. By the way, somebody on here mentioned that this is why his internet is dragging, because the two boys are downstairs, you know, actually streaming Twitch. Yeah. So this is a real thing. So in families, but I thank you for this. Anybody else have any questions for Dana or anyone that is involved in esports? I love this topic. I think it's going to be big. Dana, I would love to know, what can we do? And you might not have an immediate answer, but Rhode Island, what can we do to support you and the folks at Ritual Motion to make this actually be something big for us? We'd love that.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing we can do for Rhode Island is not have the past dictate the future. So 38 Studios was a debacle. It happened, right? It is what it is. We can't think about and talk about making this industrial revolution, making Rhode Island the epicenter, if we're still going to look at the past. The past is the past, man. It's gone, right? And we need not only folks here to understand that, but even folks now at Capitol Hill to understand that it's a different time, a different era. This small company ourselves, right? Our team has done an unbelievable job of pivoting just the companies I mentioned, 5 companies out of the gate. We've helped pivot to get in this industry. So I think that's what we need to do. I think it's an assertive effort. Everyone needs to change the mindset of video games and gamings that, you know, once again, it's the 22-year-old in their parents' basement eating Doritos.